Welcome to Not Your Average Blonde, the mindset and wellness podcast where we break limits, rewrite stories, and create extraordinary lives. I'm your host, Melissa, and I'm here to help you rise higher, live braver, and dream bigger. Let's get into today's episode. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Not Your Average Blonde. I really wanted to talk about this week about pivoting. If you've noticed, I changed my music for this podcast, my intro and my outro music, which I'm super excited about. But as we're going into this new era, I'm wanted to kind of explain and reintroduce myself a little bit more for the pivot that I'm making with both myself and my life, but also with Not Your Average Blonde. I've started this podcast because I didn't want this to be your average self-help podcast. I'm not here to give you cookie cutter advice wrapped in perfection. I'm not going to show you this picture perfect life. What I want to do is show you the real and the raw aspects of life, the experiences that we all go through, but yet for some reason we don't talk about very often. I want to be able to give you the truth and ask the hard questions and have some of those hard conversations to ultimately light a fire in you that is waiting to rise to help you overcome those challenges and hurdles that you're facing. I'm here to teach you and to show you how to become more authentically you and how to pivot in life. So I wanted to take today to kind of reintroduce who I am, a little bit of story and some of my background, why I am realigning this podcast a bit more, and then why this matters, why you should care and continue to tune into this podcast. And so for those of you who are new and joining Not Your Average Blonde, I want to thank you so much for being here. And for those who have been longtime followers and subscribers, I want to thank you so much for your support and for your help with this movement, with this podcast, and with this brand. I'm so excited to continue to build and develop this and to share more of life's lessons and to have more of these discussions with you guys. So for me and for my story, I have had a lot of life experience at a very young age. It's kind of crazy. I joke around because I pretty much had all of my midlife crises in my mid 20s. I just got so many of them done just back to back, and my god, it was such a terrible time of my life, but there were so many factors with it and just how life has evolved from that point that I honestly would not be the woman that I am today if I hadn't have gone through those experiences and if I hadn't risen and built myself after those challenges. I want to talk about that because that is a part of my unfiltered story. And so there's a couple of defining moments in my life that were key turning points that changed everything. One of the first major ones was I got divorced in my early 20s. I got married stupid young at 21 and was divorced by 25. Should have divorced way earlier or annulled, or honestly shouldn't have even gotten married to begin with, but I was following these societal boxes. I was checking each one off. I got married young. I did what was expected of me. And I tried so hard to fit into the mold of the paradigm that I was in at the time. Deep down, I knew something wasn't right and it wasn't aligned. I was not living in my truth. I would say the majority of my life, all the way up until I was about 30, I was not living in alignment with my truth. And I had so much conflict and chaos and inner turmoil. And I had to step back when I was about 29, 30 years old. And so the real shift happened when I was 30, that I decided this needs to end. I need to be done with this. When I was married, I had so much pressure to stay married. And these experiences, let me backtrack for just a second. These experiences that I had in my early and my mid 20s really did frame kind of the breakdown for me, if that makes sense. It broke me down so much that I had no choice but to build myself back up again. After going through all of those different events, I took a very long period of time just to heal and step back. And it was pretty chaotic trying to figure out and understand who I was, because I was so lost. But I, eventually found my way and found my footing. And it was literally just taking small steps at a time. And I definitely stumbled, and sometimes I slipped back as well. But, that's life. The biggest thing is you have to get back up again. And so like I was saying, going back to like my 20s, I had checked all the societal boxes that I was supposed to do at the time and what was expected of me. I had that internal conflict and turmoil because like I wasn't living in my truth on a daily basis, and it was caused so much confusion and heartache for me. I had pressure to stay married. I had pressure to drop out of school, out of university to support my husband. I had pressure to have kids, all when none of it like felt right. But the thing was is I was ignoring that internal voice like, every single day, trying to fit into the mold, trying to fit into that box. But each time I chose to ignore my internal voice, my intuition, I was cutting away at like my own sense of self-worth, and it was eating away at who I am. I did get married. Thankfully, we didn't have kids. I stayed true and fought so hard to finish my education and to get my degree. Like it was so incredibly important, but and I had so much pressure to drop out, especially where I was so close to finishing my degree. I ultimately did end up finishing my degree. Got divorced, finished my degree, but there was so much that was stacked against me, and I had several people who tried to get me to quit. Most parts of my life, I was not living my truth, but that was one truth that I absolutely needed to stay in alignment like with me and to honor myself. And thankfully, I followed through with that. I would not be where I am today if I didn't have my degree, if it didn't open up those doors. And that was a win that I needed in my life. Walking away from that relationship, it was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, but it taught me how powerful it is to choose yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. And I've done other episodes talking about my divorce and my relationship. I'll probably do a couple more in the future just because there were so many lessons that I learned going through that experience as well as coming out of that experience. But I also want to talk about in the future about like how to rebuild yourself going through divorce and how to rebuild yourself after divorce. So many people don't know how to do that, or I see so many people that are still caught up in the pain and heartache of that loss because at the end of the day, like it is a loss, but they choose to use that as an excuse, or they choose to use like that pain to not move forward or to not use that as an opportunity to build themselves into a higher level that they can be at. And so I want to share those lessons with you, and I'll do that and more in future episodes. The second big shift that I had in my life was leaving behind a high control religion. I also have another episode on this where I talked about my experience with being Mormon or LDS, Latter-day Saint, and leaving the LDS like church. That was a massive shift for me. When your entire identity, it's wrapped up in a belief system, stepping outside of that really feels like you're free falling. It's insane because there's so much of your identity gets built and wrapped up in that. And when you choose to leave, you have to rebuild. Well, first off, you have to deconstruct a lot of those ideals and things that have made you into who you are. And when you leave that and you choose to step away, you have to take the time to deconstruct those limiting beliefs and then to rebuild from that. And that's a process. It is a very lengthy process, and it is a lot to mentally, emotionally, spiritually to work through. But one of the beautiful things with leaving was it also gave me that gift of being able to rebuild my life, to rebuild me from the inside out. And I get to choose what I believe, who I want to be, and what kind of life that I want to create. And there's so much beauty in that. There's a lot of beauty and some pain in that process. But to where I am today, I have absolutely no regrets leaving. And I feel more in tune and more in alignment of who I am, and that peace that it brings is not comparable to any type of peace that I ever experienced when I was living my life in this high control religion. Another piece is my time in the military. So I haven't been open about that at all on this podcast about my military service, and it's something that I probably will not talk about for a while just because there's some things that I am still processing, and then I also want to maintain my privacy with it. But while I'm not quite ready to share the full story, what I can say is that my experiences, it did teach me a lot about resilience in a way that nothing else has. It taught me what it means to show up even when you're tired and you're exhausted, when you're hurting. It showed me the importance of protecting your peace and how do you find that balance in such a chaotic world. It also showed me how important it is to protect my energy and where to focus and assert my energy. It also gave me such a massive sense of self coming through a divorce and then leaving a high control religion and essentially kind of going into another high control organization such as the military. There was definitely some deconstructing that had to happen as well, like with that aspect, with both of those, with the military as well as the high control religion. But I gained so much of my sense of self in like that process and through like my experience like of my service. And the beauty of that is no one else is going to do that for you. One pro with the military was it did put me into an environment where it really did force me to understand and to learn more about my sense of self, which is kind of contradictory because it is also a high control organization and it does place people into boxes. And there is a massive expectation of conformity. Through my experience, through my journey, I definitely did conform, but going through that and as time continued, to progress, as I continued to serve, I started breaking out of like that box and started making more decisions that were in alignment with me, with my core beliefs. Part of that was having some of those beliefs and values challenged. It really doubled down and really forced me to identify and to stay true and just to stay authentic to who I am. And so, what I want you to know, I say all of that just to let you know and to reassure you that it is never too late in your life to change. It is never too late to pivot. In fact, pivoting is good. Like more people should pivot in their life more often because that is a part of like this life experience. My heart really aches for those people that are too afraid to make moves and to make those changes in their life. And they settle for mediocrity in their life. They settle for less than what their potential is because it's what the safe thing is. The safe thing isn't always the best thing. You can be safe, but miserable. But if you take that chance and push yourself slightly outside of your comfort zone into some of the unknown, and you take that chance to pivot, there's so much more opportunity and things that can open up that you can't even imagine. Why wouldn't you want to take that chance to yourself? So I'm here to share with you that it's never too late to pivot. Throughout this podcast, I want to show you how to pivot and how to apply that into your life. And lastly, it's never too late to come home to yourself. It's never too late to understand more of who you are, of who the authentic you is. And I created this podcast for anyone who's been through something hard, who's had to start over, those who need or who want change but feel stuck. This podcast is for you. I'm here to help you through those transitory periods. I remember when I was getting divorced, one of the hardest aspects of getting divorced was making the decision to get a divorce. It took me years, literally years, because I felt stuck. I didn't feel like I had the power to be able to make that change that was desperately needed in my life. And I wish I'd had people in my life at the time or someone, whether it was a mentor, a friend, or even podcasts. This is back when podcasts weren't as popular as they are today. They were still there, but they weren't as common as they are now. But I wish I had someone there that I could listen to and give me that advice and give me the courage to be able to leave that relationship earlier on. I eventually made that move, but it was at the cost of several years of my life. I don't want that for anyone else. I am also here to teach those of you who want more out of life, but you don't know how to go after that. I'm here to show you that, life is short and I want to help you and to inspire you and to teach you how you can go after those things that your heart desires. I'm here to remind you that your past does not define you. That's in the past. You are here in the now and you are allowed to grow. You're allowed to make mistakes. You deserve happiness. You're allowed to evolve and you are absolutely allowed to rewrite and to write your story going forward. Rewrite your story by reframing your mindset with healthier narratives and then how to build that foundation for your future story. This is why I created Not Your Average Blonde. This is why I created this movement. We all have moments in our lives that feel like we are completely breaking, and looking back on those times, they don't define who you are. Like my hardships in my life don't define who I am. And I did not let them ruin me. I could have. It would have been so easy for me to stay in that state of complacency or to allow those things that happened to me in my life to ruin me. But it's a choice not to. I chose not to. I chose to rebuild myself and to evolve and to move forward and to grow. Those times, they provide opportunities for me to rebuild myself into a better version and to pivot my life. And it has been absolutely amazing. So maybe you're in a period of where you need to pivot in your life right now. Maybe you're in the middle of the storms and a season of friction or uncertainty or fire. But the thing is, like in the season that you're in with all this chaos, you're being refined in this fire. And I want to help you to be able to forge yourself to move forward. So here's something I need you to know. First, you are allowed to change. You are allowed to pivot. not just once, but as many times as it takes to build a life that feels right for you. We've been taught that change is chaotic, that growth means leaving something behind. And there's a lot of fear that comes with that, but it doesn't have to be that way. When and if you pivot, it doesn't mean that you got it wrong the first time. You just learned. You're growing. Fuck those old mindsets. Those aren't true. Those limiting beliefs are not true. Growth, it means that you've outgrown something. And that is something to be proud of. The fact that you are growing and that you are embracing that growth and the new person that you are becoming, the person that is more authentically like aligned with you and your heart's desires to build like that life. Life's not meant to be average. So whether so if it's your career, your mindset, your relationship, your beliefs, if something no longer fits, you are allowed to shift. And that is okay. Those narratives may have worked for you at that time in that period in your life, and they may no longer work now, and that is okay. One example is for me when I left the Mormon church. I look back at it with I don't have resentment for the time period that religion played a role like in my life. It was exactly what I needed when I was a teenager, when I was a kid actually, and a teenager and a young adult. My family and I, we moved around all the time. Like I think we averaged a move like every 2 years or something like that. We moved so much all over the world, not even just here in the United States, but we moved all over the world. I've lived in Europe, I've lived in all over the United States, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, South, you name it. I've lived there. I have lived in the Middle East. I've been to so many different places. And I've spent so much time in places away from where the majority of my family is that this religion, this church, it gave me that consistency, the continuity that I needed for my social life. It gave me a sense of community. It gave me friends. It gave me a purpose and a sense of hope in these new locations and places that I was at. It played a very pivotal role in my upbringing and especially my teenage years. But as I've grown into adulthood and through adulthood, it no longer serves a place or purpose in my life. It no longer fits. And that was one thing I had to learn and understand was that that is okay. I am allowed to shift. I am allowed to thank that period of that it was in my life and accept that, okay, it no longer has a place going forward, but I look fondly back and I'm grateful for the role that it played. Yes, there was a lot of negative narratives as well that came with it. And those were lessons that I had to learn and how to work through and I had to deconstruct as I've gone through my rebuilding process. But that's a part of my story. That's a part of what has made Melissa me into who I am today. And I am okay with that. I understand that, like, and I am okay with the fact that I am allowed to shift and that I made that decision to shift. I don't owe anyone a version of me that is no longer aligned with that old version. I am more in alignment with myself and I feel that I am more authentically me. The same applies for you. You are allowed to live within your own authentic self. You are allowed to be in alignment with yourself. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need anyone else's permission to become you. You don't need your spouse. You don't need your parents. You don't need your siblings. You don't need your friends. You don't need your religion, your church, whatever it may be. You're the one that gets to decide who you want to become and the person and the type of person that you want to evolve into. And that's the beauty of the pivot. And so that's where I am here to teach you to how to pivot. The pivot begins with changing the conversation with yourself first. What story are you going to tell yourself about what is possible? It's all in your mindset. I talk a lot about your mindset because that's where it starts. So much of this starts with your mind. The next thing is shifting your energy from shame or confusion to curiosity and courage. Focus on the future, focus forward. The past is the past. You can't change it. You can't rewrite it, but what you can do is you can learn from it. The key is to not dwell or stay in the past. You need to look forward. You need to enjoy the present and build for the future. Have those hopes, have those dreams, and be in the present. Enjoy the here and the now. So one question I want you to ask yourself is take a moment and breathe and check in and recenter with yourself. What areas of your life are you being called to expand into? What desires does your heart have? When you think about your future, what vision gives you like that warmth and that gives you that hope? Start there. Hold on to those things. And lastly, with pivoting, you have to take action. I am a huge advocate for action. I absolutely love taking action, both in my own life, but then also seeing other people take action. It's really exciting. Action builds momentum. When you're pivoting in your life, just start small. Take one small action. That's all it takes to create that momentum, to move forward, to build that future, to build those things, and to find that path that puts you in alignment with those desires of your heart. The energy shift that we need in this season, it's bold and clear. It's shifting from, is it too late, to this is just the beginning. Your mindset. Change it from what will people think to what do I think? And from waiting for the perfect moment to choosing the moment. There's never going to be a perfect time. Never. The best time is now. The best time is when you take that first step, when you make that action. That's the energy that I want to fuel this podcast. I don't want it to just be reflection, but I want it to be movement, not awareness, but transformation. You don't have to have all the answers to begin. Hell, I don't have all the answers. Building this podcast, it's been so cool and it has been a leap of faith, but I don't get bogged down and trying to figure out if I have all the answers or how I'm going to build this or what the potential is that is there. And that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers to begin. But what you do need to have is the willingness to take the right next step. And that's what I'm here to help you to do. I'm here to help motivate you and help you to understand why it matters, your mission, and the invitation that life has and that calling into your soul. So with Not Your Average Blonde, here's what's coming your way. This isn't just a podcast. It's a movement for anyone, for you, bold enough to believe that there's more waiting for you and that you are brave enough to go after it. These episodes are going to be designed to light a fire under your self-doubt, get your mind moving and thinking in different ways. I want to spark the kind of clarity that leads to real change. That's one of my goals here. You're going to find me diving into about 5 major themes that are going to be the backbone of this show. Like I said, I'm currently in a phase where I'm going to pivot this podcast slightly, and I want to focus on these 5 major themes. The first one is going to be wellness. I'm not talking about healthy food and Pilates, though I absolutely fucking love both of them. I can talk for hours on that. But I want to talk more about your mind, your body, your soul alignment and connection that you have, connection with yourself, connections that you have with others, connection that you have with your environment. I'm going to talk about burnout, recovery, rituals, and redefining what it means to take care of yourself from the inside out. This is going to include, emotional intelligence, learning how to regulate your emotions, navigate triggers, leading with compassion, and stop letting your past ruin your present. You got to stop letting your past run your present. There's nothing good there. It's in the past. It's time to move forward. I'm also going to talk about self-improvement. This isn't just about habits. It's about shifting your identity, breaking those cycles, and becoming the version of you that you know is buried underneath the shoulds. We're going to talk about energy work. I'm currently on my own kind of spiritual journey in a sense, and I've been putting it off for a while because I like to stay, especially leaving a high control religion, I like to stay kind of middle of the road of I believe that there is energy in the universe, higher power. I don't subscribe to one religion. I do think there are a lot of good and truths in all different religions across the world. I have a lot of experience in studying religions across the world, and there's a lot of beauty in each of them. And there are elements of truth within them. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to how good of a human being that you are, in the sense of how do you treat your fellow man? How do you treat the world and the energy that you put out there and the intent of your heart? Be good to each other and have good intentions with everything that you do. And that's the type of philosophy that I apply into my life. But a lot of that boils down into energy. And so I'm kind of on my own journey of trying to understand energy work a bit more, whether it's Reiki, how I connect to the world around me. I want to teach you about your intuitive tools and understanding your intuition a bit more. I'll bring you along as I explore how to tune your frequency and move from a survival state to more soul aligned action. Because with that soul alignment, you're going to live more authentically. You're going to have more of an authentic life because your energy is the root of everything that you do, everything in your life. And with that is a process of reinvention. This is the heart of the show because you're not stuck. You're not trapped. And if you feel that you are, I'm going to teach you how to get out. I'm going to teach you how to reframe that narrative to move from that state of feeling stuck or feeling trapped. Because I get it. I have been there when I remember when I was married, I felt so trapped and so stuck. And that was the biggest obstacle for me with moving forward and building like a better life was reframing my mindset, and then taking those actions to become more aligned and to move forward. It was so hard. And if I can help make that easier for you, and if I can teach you how to do that, then I have met my goal. I have met my mission. I also want to assure you that you are not behind. You are perfectly on the path and the place that you need to be right here, right now. The whole purpose of life is to become, and you are becoming. You are on that path and you are becoming. And this podcast, it's here to remind you of that. Every damn week, I am here to remind you of that and to help you. So whether you're commuting, journaling, cleaning your house, crying in the shower, I definitely have been there. I want this to be your go-to space for real talk, those truth bombs, maybe those gut punches sometimes, deep shifts, and those holy shit, she just said exactly what I need to hear moments. This podcast, it's not a highlight reel. It's your permission slip. It's an example. It's to teach you to grow, to change, to come home to yourself, because you're not average. You were never meant to be. And that is okay. That was something that took me a long time to understand and to be okay with. I tried for so long to fit into that box, to fit into whatever societal narrative and norm that was being asked of me, whether that was in a high control religion or when I was in university or with like my friends, peers, the military, you name it. And I struggled so much to fit into that box, but I was living out of alignment. And it took me a while to understand that, you know what, I'm not average, and that is okay. That is okay, because I was never meant to be. You were never meant to be average. You were never meant to live an average life. And I'm here to teach you to evolve that, to become anything but average and to evolve beyond that. And so I'm not here just to talk to you. I'm here literally to walk with you and to be a guide and to teach you these things and these principles. And there may be a lot of things that you already know, but hopefully this can be a reminder and also a motivator. Like I said, light that fire under your ass to take action in your life, build that momentum, because you are meant to live a great life. You are meant to live, to have energy and have life. And in Arabic, they call it like the testosterone, to like enjoy the testosterone like of life. And I'm here to help infuse that into these 30, 45 minutes that I have with you each week. At the core of Not Your Average Blonde, it's a deeper vision. I want people all over the world to come and to live a more authentically, more intentionally, and to be more holistic in their life. For me, my life journey, it has not been linear, like far from it. Oh my gosh, it has been so far from linear. And that's okay with it. I am okay with that. I actually love it. With the chaos comes a lot of excitement and also a lot of opportunity and some cool experiences. Opportunities that have taken me across multiple continents, from the US to Europe to Africa to the heart of the Middle East, multiple times, back and forth, all over the place. And I'm going to continue to. I can't wait to go back to those continents, and I'm excited to go back to Asia, or to explore Asia, because every time I go and experience new places, new cultures, new people, I learn so much, not only about the cultures and the people that I am interacting with, but also about myself. And those are lessons that have been so invaluable in making me me. It has helped me to live more in alignment with like my heart and my soul. And I'm so excited to continue to learn those lessons. As I continue to learn more of those lessons, I'm going to share those with you. I look forward to someday to going back to each of those places and connecting with more of the people again. And I hope that this podcast can also reach across the globe as well too. I'm excited to share these lessons of life and to walk with you on this journey. Truthfully, living and studying overseas, that's probably another aspect I should have mentioned earlier on the podcast, going into my background. But living and studying overseas, it fundamentally has reshaped how I see the world and myself. From my time abroad, I learned how to question norms, how to embrace contrast, and let go of who I thought I had to be. Living overseas and traveling overseas, it's challenged my way of thinking and opened my eyes and my mind to different perspectives and different ways of life as well too, and the different lens that people have with life. It's been absolutely amazing to see different cultures and living and working and meeting different people and seeing the lens that they view life through. A lot of it has been positive, and I've been so grateful for that experience. I've had people who've taken me under their wings and who saw the pain that I was in. For example, when I got divorced, I literally sold off my shit, packed up what little that I had, and I moved over to the Middle East. My parents thought I was batshit crazy, but I did that. I took such a leap of faith, but while I was over there, and I've been back several times since, and I look forward to going back again as well in the future. I've had so many good lessons from the people there. There are a couple of instances where I come to mind right now where people taught me how to see the beauty in life again. When I got divorced, I was so depressed. I was so anxious. I was so lost. I didn't know who I was. And fortunately, I came across a couple of people that were very pivotal in my life throughout my travels that I really feel like they were able to see through the pain and into my soul and knew what I needed. And they gave me the empathy and they taught me the lessons and they took the time to have the conversations and also showed me the beauty of how to see the beauty in life again and how to dream and how to hope and have belief and confidence in myself. I'm so grateful for those lessons and for those people. And part of this, doing this podcast and creating this Not Your Average movement is one of my ways to help pay it forward, because those people, I would not be here today if I hadn't have had some of those critical and pivotal people like in my life. I'm so grateful for that. This is what I want to share with you. I want to help teach you how to challenge your ways of thinking and to change that narrative and open your eyes and mind to different perspectives and way of life. Those are some of the lessons, a lot of the lessons that I have learned through my travels and through my experiences in life. It has showed me different rhythms to life and different values, and it taught me something that, or so many things that I hold close and very dear. It helped me redefine what success means for me. It's not about what's chasing what's shiny. It's aligning with what's true. It's living an authentic life that is in alignment with your soul and your heart. And this is the energy that I want to bring and that I am bringing to this podcast. I want to show and teach you how to live a life that is bold and curious, one that is spiritually grounded in whatever avenue that you subscribe to, but also one that is rooted in wellness and wholeness, and to give you the courage to grow through change, because change is inevitable. It is going to happen. You just have to learn how to embrace it and to roll with it and to grow with it and to create that life of success and to define success in your own terms. My personal definition of success, it's freedom. It's freedom of my time, freedom of expression, freedom to build a life that feels good, not just one that looks good. It is a life that gives back. It is one that is kind and is fair to others, a life that honors who I really am. And I want the same for you. I want you to be able to build a life that is authentically yours. Whether you're in the US, you're in the Middle East, you're in Europe, I hope this reaches you. I'm so excited if it does. And I look forward to meeting some of you. And I look forward to sharing more of these life lessons and the beauty that life has, and to help you to be able to cultivate that in your life. I hope this podcast reaches you and many other people. I want this to be a place where you remember that you can pivot, you can rise, you can rewrite your story without apology. So I've gone on for almost 40 minutes now, much longer than I originally intended, but let's build something bigger together. Let's build something global. Let's build something real. And I want to remind you that you're not average. You were never meant to be. And there's so much beauty in that. If you are going through something right now, I want you to leave a comment and send me a message. Let me know what you're going through and we can work through this together. What story are you tired of living? What narrative are you caught up in? So thank you so much for tuning in today and for listening to me this week. I am so grateful for each of you. If this episode spoke to your soul, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with your friends, share it on social media, tag me on Instagram, write me a comment on YouTube or Spotify. Please rate and review. It helps me out so much, and subscribe. It only takes a moment just to subscribe, and it helps me out to be able to build this movement and to get this message out there. It means so much more than you know. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks for tuning in to Not Your Average Blonde. Remember, your story isn't finished yet, and the best chapters are still ahead. If today's episode spoke to you, share it with a friend, and don't forget to follow the show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Stay connected, stay bold, and most of all, stay unapologetically you. Until next time.